Good evening, everyone. I am Mike Usnick of Pink Sock Podcast, which today is not Pink Sock Podcast. It's a very special day, as you can tell by the logo in the corner. But I am joined by, I would say, my fellow co-host today because Geoff Towers is taking over.
Ta-da!
He's got his own logo. This guy's taking over Pink Sock. He comes on one day, and now it's his show.
Soon is going to be the third wheel.
But without further ado, here's the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Geoff Towers. I'm going to move you right here because this is your show right now. This is your thing. Look at you. What are you doing?
Hello?
You got a boogie. No. Can you hear us?
Okay. All right. Yeah. I can hear you now. Yeah, we're good.
Did you notice
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Did you hear about that Verizon commercial? The guy that did the Can You Hear Me Now no longer does that. He's now with Verizon instead of Sprint.
What'd you say?
What? So this is the first edition of TowerStories with Geoff Towers, where you're going to come on once a month till you get tired of us or until you get too busy.
Yeah.
That
or I get a gag order. One of the two.
Whenever I was with my ex, she got a gag order, if you know what I mean. But
That's awful. That is awful. That is awful.
I love
She's
I love
somebody's
the
daughter, damn it.
Yeah, in the bedroom, I'm her daddy.
Okay.
I love your hat because it's very ironic because I should be the one wearing it, not you.
Yeah. This is well, we were talking about this earlier. Okay, so yeah. Celestial Buds. Celestial Buds is a marijuana shop in Calgary, Alberta, with 2 locations in Calgary and 1 in Cochrane, Alberta. I have a personal connection to this. My wonderful girlfriend works for them as their online virtual assistant type thing, and she does all of the web stuff. So I actually don't smoke weed very often. The occasional time. Everybody thinks I'm high all the time because of my eyes, but yeah, there you go. Celestial Buds.
Cool. I like how you went from I don't smoke at all to I don't smoke very often.
Yeah, Mike, we should try and come to sponsor this show.
Yeah, Celestial Buds should sponsor Pink Sock.
Yeah,
I'll put it out there. You never know. You never know.
And speaking of sponsors, let's talk a little bit about your sponsors and ours. We don't have sponsors. We just promote people until they start sponsoring us. We have Death Comes Lifting. They have their podcast, the Death Comes Lifting podcast. We have Geoff Towers. Do you still do that Instagram live interviews that you was doing?
I haven't done one in a while. I kind of pulled back from that a bit because I've just been so damn busy. I took on a new project, and preparation for that has been pretty insane. So, yeah, I'll do them again, I'm sure. I just, it's not something that I was programming like to be a weekly thing. Originally it was, and then I kind of got away from that. Mm-hmm. But I will do some in the future, I'm sure.
You could do what our former producer, Kathy Grant, does. She does her show once a month.
Yeah, I saw her. I was watching, actually. I have her on Instagram and saw one with Toya. What's her name? Peter. Was it Peter and Toya? Her husband, or is that Paul? He was in some big metal band back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now she has coming up Marco.
Oh, crazy.
You might also recognize him as Uncle Fester. No. We got
very nice looking dude.
He is. I love it. But she has Marco on the show. Is there any guests that you would really want before we jump into the stories on your?
Any guests that I'd really want?
Yeah.
Like on my chat?
Instagram. I can make it happen,
Instagram, bro. I like to stick with people that I have some kind of a connection to musically. That's generally what I do. So usually I've worked for them or played with them or that kind of thing. So I leave it pretty open, and some of my favorites have been like, I would say Ben Caesar from Brad Paisley's band, and just a solid dude, great chat.
I love how when you said Brad Paisley band, you moved a little to the left to display.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cracker Barrel, sponsored. Yeah,
of course, Cracker Barrel sponsor.
Yeah, of course. I wish they had Cracker Barrel in Canada. They don't have Cracker Barrel in Canada. That would be...
No, it's too damn cold.
yeah, it is.
What do you guys?
What it is.
Do you guys have like a specific type of like a specific restaurant that is only in Canada that we need to know about?
Swiss Chalet.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's like rotisserie chicken. Yeah.
Is that your guys' thing? We do fried chicken, you do rotisserie.
I think I don't quote me on this, but it's across Canada. That's about all I know about it. Really. Yeah. Do you guys have Montanas down there?
We have a state called Montana, but we don't have...
Yeah, Montana Steakhouse. Yeah. Okay, so that's up here too for some reason.
It might be in the state of Montana. We don't have one where I'm living right now, but we do have a state of Montana that might have it.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. That's the state that I'm right above is Montana. Being up in Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, nice.
Just directly above. Very much similar, apparently, landscape-wise as well.
I know we probably already covered this, but my memory's shit. You're not originally from Canada, are you?
I am originally born in Montreal and then lived in Houston for a while. So
I was going to say you don't have
that's the part. Yeah.
I was going to say you don't have the Canadian accent. Yeah. Yeah, you don't say boot.
I'm not going to go for a rip there, buddy. I know. Yeah, I don't have that accent.
Can you pull off an Aussie accent?
I can't. I don't even want to offend you even in the slightest with that because I don't know.
Down under.
I don't know. I will tell you this though. When I was a kid, and as a kid, I would say I was probably about 18, 19. Me and my friends would go to the bar because you had to be 18 to go to the bar up here. And we would go to the bar and we would choose themes and we would talk to people that we didn't know in a theme. Like almost like method acting in a way, where we would go in and like, okay, today we're from here and choose a spot that has sort of an accent and try to do a bit of an accent and then meet people. And you know, and then when you get caught, when they figure out that, wait a minute, you guys are actually from here. You're not actually, you know, from where you're saying.
Can you do a Yorkshire?
It always ended weird, but yeah, Naomi's asked me to do a Yorkshire accent. I don't even know what that accent is. Yorkshire. Is that, I know Yorkshire dogs, Yorkshire pudding.
Okay, there it is.
That's all I know about Yorkshire accent. Is it like a Cockney accent? I don't know.
Going up the apples and paths and having a J off.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah. That to me might be. I think that might be a Yorkshire accent.
That's actually Cockney. Put the wooden toll. What?
Oh, okay.
That sounds dirty.
I don't know what that means. I don't
even want to try to guess.
So, I'm not going to Google it.
My favorite accent would be like southern states, like Alabama and Texas. Y'all.
Alabama, y'all.
That kind of that I love that accent. One of the funniest thing I think I've ever heard was in catering one time at a show, and this big bus driver dude, big black guy, comes in doing his thing, walks the line of food, and he sees the bagels. He grabs the bagel and he like knocks it on the plate. He looks at me, he goes, "Damn, these are harder than Chinese arithmetic." And I was just like, I didn't know what to say. I'm laughing. That's offensive as shit. But at the same time, it was funny as shit.
That
So,
kind of reminds me of that Larry the Cable Guy joke where he's like, "Could you imagine if they had like Wheel of Fortune in China?" Be like, "I want an upside down house with a dog in it." There's 3 of those. Okay.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
I don't is like languages like that have a lot of different like things. Like, do they have different symbols for different letters? Like multiple ones for the same letter? Like, I don't get why there's so many.
Oh, and like asterisks and stuff on top.
Yeah, like in China and Japan and stuff, they use like the symbolism like to
Oh, I'm not
right.
sure.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, like accents on top of like French in French when they have the accent, or Spanish when they have the swivel or whatever.
Or like Motorhead, Motley Crue, where it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
What caused that?
I think that is in the actual language. I think that does something, but I think in the case of that, it's more of a logo.
Could you imagine if people actually pronounced it the way it with the accents?
It's over the O, isn't it? Motley Crue?
Yeah.
Motley?
Motley Crue?
I think that's how you're supposed to say it. Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. Mooterhead.
Where's the Mooterhead? It's over the O, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mooterhead.
It was a big thing back in the day to put it above the O's.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Ozzy did that shit? Uzi Osbourne.
Uzi Osbourne.
That's how he says it. What are we talking about?
Yeah, that's true.
My name's Uzi Osbourne.
Yeah. Oh man.
One of the best performances I saw of his was either Moscow Peace Festival or when he played at Budokan. Have you seen those 2 live performances?
No, I haven't. What sets them apart?
Well, one was recorded in 1989, and it was in Moscow. Mm-hmm. The other one was filmed at the legendary Budokan in 2002, I want to say.
Oh wow!
So they're like decades. They're decades apart, but Ozzy still sounds fucking amazing on both of them.
I can see that. I mean, he's a talented performer for sure. Like, I like Black Sabbath a lot. And again, I think we talked about that last time where they have the Heaven and Hell story. Yeah.
Did you hear about I think it was recently, Geoff Nichols, the original keyboardist. Was it the original? Well, one of the keyboardists that Black Sabbath had recently released a previously unreleased Dio track from Black Sabbath without Tony Iommi's permission.
Oh.
Yeah, and Tony's pissed about it.
What was it?
I forget the name of it. I just happened to see it on my thing. I listened to it. I forget the name of the song though. But I don't know if it's from Heaven and Hell days or when it was still known as Sabbath. But yeah, Tony's pissed about that. And I don't blame him.
I wonder what part he's mad about. Is he mad that something was released because it wasn't to his standard of performance, or is it a money thing?
I think
or is he not actually mad and the lawyers are mad?
I don't think it's the money thing from the way I was reading it. I think Tony is more mad that he did it without asking the guy who owns the band.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Like, if he would have been like, hey, can I release this? And Tony's like, let's release it together. That would have been a different story, but he did it without even asking.
Yeah, that ain't cool. Yeah.
Like, that's not cool at all.
And sorry, who released it?
Geoff Nichols, the keyboardist of Black Sabbath.
Geoff Nichols.
I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I know it's Geoff. Yeah, he played piano for Sabbath. Could you imagine being like, no rag on him, but could you imagine being like, what member were you of Black Sabbath? Oh, I was the keyboardist. How many songs do they have with keyboard?
I'm going through changes.
That's the only one.
Oh, you're the changes guy.
Yeah, changes guy.
He also played keyboard, I believe, on Mr. Crowley.
Crazy. I
believe. I could be wrong, but
I can't even hear that in my head when you said it. I don't know.
What, Mr. Crowley?
Not the keyboard part. I don't.
The beginning.
Bum 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 bum.
Right.
The
Okay,
organ,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Live,
Right.
when Ozzy doesn't have a keyboardist live, he has the bass player play that part.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah,
weird.
but it's very rare that he
I've
doesn't
seen
have.
them in the live at Budokan concert.
Yeah, uh,
Mm.
I think the keyboardist for Ozzy there was Alan Wakeman, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But let's get to the stories because you have a lot to tell, and we're just bullshitting about Ozzy Osbourne. Before we start, though, I do have a little shout out to do. Though I'm going to be on the Rock and Roll podcast tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're going to be. I'm challenged. I have been challenged to rank the Ozzy Osbourne albums from worst to best.
That's a big, tall order, man. Wow, you've been doing the research. Have you been Ozzying it up?
Yeah, the last week or two, I've been listening to every album. I listened to 3 albums
but
a day.
Ozzy.
Yeah, and then I dug into like the real like deep shit. Like I found like tons of tracks that are previously unreleased from different albums and shit. And I'm like, why didn't they make the album? They're all so good. Like Osmosis has a whole album's worth of unreleased material.
Yep.
I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And they're all good.
They probably just didn't make the cut. What they had a time frame, probably. I'm guessing.
I have a feeling.
I think that's what happens with that.
If anything does happen to Ozzy, we know he's going to outlive us all. But whenever something does happen to Ozzy, I have a feeling they're just going to take all that unreleased shit and just make albums with it, like they did with Frank Zappa.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, even Prince has got tons and tons and tons of shit that will slowly work its way out, probably on every anniversary of his birth or his death.
If I'm not mistaken, Robert Plant came out not too long ago and says he has like albums worth of unreleased material that he's not going to release until he dies. Until he dies. Because he wants his family to be taken care of when he dies. So he has all these albums that's not going to be released until he dies.
Wow.
I'm like, that's smart.
That's an interesting way to do it, right? But I guess and one of those things where you're really thinking about that, your mortality or immortality or whatever you want to call it, and preparing for the future for your family and stuff like that. That's kind of cool and kind of dark at the same time.
Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of fucked up. There's a lot of musicians there that have predicted their own deaths and shit too. Like John Lennon. Yeah. I don't know if you knew this or not, but John was in an interview like weeks before he died. And they're like, how do you think you're going to go? And I don't know why they even asked this question, but he was like, I don't have bodyguards right now, so I'm probably going to get shot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he did.
Well, I wonder if a bodyguard could have prevented him from being shot, though.
I think the bodyguard would have been shot instead in the best situation for him.
The best of the worst situation. Yeah.
What's awful
is funny fact. Speaking of John Lennon, I have the same birthday as John Lennon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Julian Lennon too. They both are the same birthday, which is crazy. Yeah.
Ever listen to Julian's stuff? He doesn't really release anything anymore, but
I have. I like. You know what? There's this weird lineage going on that is kind of almost like a renaissance of the Beatles in a way, with Julian Lennon stuff and
Sean
Lennon as well as what's his name there? Oh, now I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
You're
totally
good.
Drawing a blank.
Are you thinking of another Beatles kid?
Another Beatles kid, yeah. He did a tour not that long ago with ELO. They opened up for ELO, yeah. My buddy Chris Hornbrick was the drummer for that tour.
Oh, no pressure. No pressure figuring out the name.
Yeah, no, now I'm like shit. Danny Harrison. Okay. Danny Harrison. Yeah. That's how it's spelled, Danny Harrison.
I read somewhere that the kids were thinking about forming their like modern version of the Beatles kind of thing with all the kids.
Yeah.
But right now, if I'm not mistaken, he might not be anymore. But Ringo Starr's son at least used to play for the Who.
Well, he played for the Who, and he also played for Oasis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
So yeah, and like that's so and you know who his drum teacher was? This is bananas, and the reason why he's in the Who it was Keith Moon.
Oh
So,
shit!
yeah, that's where he could learn how to play drums. Was Keith Moon, obviously his dad as well.
I was about to say, I'm like,
you know, his dad as well, but his actual like kind of like mentor was Keith Moon. So
because
that
I
makes
always
sense.
hear that Ringo Starr gets a lot of hate because his drums are so simplistic. You're like, he learned from Keith Moon, not Ringo.
I'll tell you right now, Ringo Starr is one of the most underrated musicians of our entire existence. Simply because the amount of songs that he was pumping out with original ideas on every single song,
Mhm.
there was no two songs the same with his playing. And his innovations with using tom work more, which was not developed yet, and breaking out of the boom ta 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 that kind of groove
Like the Animals
into
type playing.
yeah, breaking out of that and exploring different ideas and different fills and absolutely the guy was by far the most creative drummer of our time.
He's also in a band that if it wasn't for the Beatles, we wouldn't have like metal or grunge or
Any of it.
because Helter Skelter was like groundbreaking.
Yeah,
That
for
people
sure.
heard that and they're like, this is too heavy. Like this was way before Slayer and shit. They're like, this is heavy. This would be like somebody in the 60s listening to Slayer.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that was the first. I'm pretty sure that was the first song that distortion was used.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, you know, obviously that's a massive game changer right there. Massive. On so many, like there isn't a single type of music now that doesn't have some kind of distorted guitar in it.
Right.
You know, think about that. Like country music, even rap now has like guitar parts that have distorted guitar in it. You know, that kind of thing. Shit. And then if you're getting into the distorted thing, even dubstep
Mm-hmm.
could be traced back to distortion as well.
Mm-hmm.
So really that was like an atom splitter moment, you know.
And also the Beatles, like they have each album's a different genre, if you notice. Like
Yeah. Well,
like you got
just
psychedelic,
open-ended, yeah.
You got hard rock. I'm like, bro, you had pop back in the day when they first came out. They were a boy band technically when they first came out.
Yeah.
Like that'd be like Backstreet Boys releasing Helter Skelter, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I got a little trivia question for you because this is something a lot of people don't realize. What song and band is credited for creating thrash metal?
Thrash metal or death metal?
Thrash metal. I'll give you a hint. The song was released in the late 70s.
Yeah. I want to say Budgie or UFO.
Nope.
No. Who?
Queen.
Really?
Stone Cold Crazy is credited as being one of the
crazy.
Just because of that guitar riff. Metallica even covers it at their shows.
I have a Queen. I'll tell you a Queen story.
Go ahead. Let's get into the stories.
I've never worked for Queen, but this is a life story. This is a life experience story. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and we lived in this old decrepit apartment building that was like wood floors and stuff. Mm-hmm. And the sound wasn't carried pretty easy. And I was working at a coffee shop place where I had to be up at like 3:00 in the morning and then make my way over to the coffee place, working downtown during the rush in the morning. And I remember waking up one day and I thought somebody was like bouncing a basketball and I didn't know what it was. And I was like, what the hell is that noise? And I woke up and totally, like not thinking anything of it. And then all of a sudden, really loud, Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia. And I was like, what the hell? And then I realized what was going on as the basketball playing, the dribbling of the basketball got faster. And I was like, oh my God, this is awful. And I'm waking up to this. in the middle of the night to go work at a coffee job. And then I've never seen the people below us before until I came home from the coffee shop that day. And they were the ugliest people I've ever seen in my life.
When they yell Mamma Mia, the proper thing is Mamma Mia, let me sleep.
Oh, when it happened, I didn't realize that it was going to scar me for life. I can't listen to Queen at all anymore because of the flashbacks from that. I was like, oh man, it was awful. It was awful. But I mean, love has no sight, clearly, and that's okay, and that's beautiful. I'm glad they found each other.
Right.
I'll leave it at that.
The thing about Queen, though, is much like the Beatles, they were very innovative.
For sure.
An opera rock band? What?
Yeah, it was bizarre, and apparently the singer also used to work at Lyden planes.
Mm-hmm.
Like when that movie came out, I never saw it, but I had some friends that saw it, and they were like, "Hey, did you know that Freddie Mercury was rampy as well?" And I was like, "What? That's so crazy."
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's like, "You're gonna be famous," and I'm like, "No, I'm not."
You're the next Freddie Mercury. Just don't follow the same path.
No. No.
That movie, kind of Bohemian Rhapsody.
I loved it.
It was historically incorrect, and I didn't. I liked the movie, but it was not right. Freddie Mercury found out he had AIDS in the movie before Live Aid, and Queen was not together, and they reunited at Live Aid because Freddie had AIDS. In reality, Freddie didn't find out he had AIDS until 5 years after Live Aid. Queen did a whole reunion tour before Live Aid.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, whatever it takes to make it a better story, right?
Yeah, they had a movie they had to make, so they had it end at Live Aid.
What happened? Is this going to be accurate? No, we're not going to make it accurate.
Not at all.
Of course not.
We'll just move this part to here. Can you imagine? He's probably rolling over in his grave. He's like, "What the fuck?"
Like, he didn't tell anybody in the movie. He told his entire band he has AIDS and he wants to reunite at Live Aid. In reality, nobody knew until he was on his deathbed.
Yeah.
Nobody knew.
Yeah. Well, that was such it's a sad story, that whole thing,
It is. He was working on a solo album at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Because he had a music video that was released like before he died, and he looked really sick, but he released a music video before he died.
Wow.
For his
a lot of people do that. We're on a death topic today. I mean, have you ever seen the last David Bowie video?
I was about ready to say that. He's literally on his deathbed singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that is haunting. That is so haunting.
Scared the fuck out of me when I saw it. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like, he knew, and he was like, this is my opportunity to make my swan song and do it the way I want, which was, kind of beautiful in a way, to have that kind of control over things.
Johnny Cash did the same thing.
He kind of kept his illness like a secret too, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think a lot of those creatives, they keep their private life pretty private.
Yeah.
Until it happened. Yeah.
Johnny Cash's death was kind of odd because he kept writing albums about his death, but he kept releasing these albums within a 7-year period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was still around, but he's like, I'm going sooner or later. Like, each album was like him writing about how he's sick.
And then you got the flip side, Willie Nelson.
Oh yeah, he ain't going anywhere.
He writes songs. He goes, hey, I'm the only one. I don't want to be the only one standing, I think is his statement in the song. And then halfway through the song, he's like, actually, maybe I do. And that's probably a good segue to get into the Willie Nelson stuff.
Yeah, with Willie, though, with that, he is one of the last original Southern rockers left.
You know what? I have so much respect and adoration for that man and the people that he surrounds himself with. Every single member of the family that I've met has been amazing. And Willie himself there isn't another person like Willie. Like I don't even know how to express it properly other than to say that he is very much an entity. When you meet him, it's an entity moment. You know you're meeting somebody that's like there isn't anybody else around that's like him at all.
It's like meeting Michael Jackson in the 80s.
Yeah, would probably yeah. I could see that would be similar.
Like as iconic, like you're meeting a part of history, not just a human being.
Yeah. Well, in Willie too, the difference between him and everybody else is
the weed he smokes.
Well, I do have stories about that as well.
Let's get into it. Let's do this.
Wait, I'm gonna back it up for a second. He is the most down-to-earth dude I've ever seen in my life. Like, he's been through hell and back on multiple levels, playing music and touring and doing it, and problems with the IRS and all that shit. But you know what? At the end of the day, he's just Willie Nelson and awesome. Like, such an awesome dude. So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about Willie Nelson's my experiences with Willie Nelson and his crew. Okay. So when you start working production, you get introduced to the main person who you're dealing with for the day. In this case, it was Pootie Locke. And Pootie Locke was his tour manager for 30 some odd years at this time.
God damn.
And Pootie was one of those dudes. As soon as you met him, you knew something. There was something about Pootie that you couldn't put your finger on, but you knew that you had met somebody you're going to be friends with for the rest of your life. One of those kind of solid dudes. And right away, he started calling me baby boy, and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, this is kind of weird. And he goes, baby boy. And being from Texas, Waco, Texas, actually, originally Waco, and then Austin. He kept calling me baby boy. Hey, baby boy, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And on one day, he's like, I need you to take Jody Payne, who's the guitar player who was with Willie Nelson for 30 years. He goes, I need you to take Jody to go get a new Western shirt. And I'm like, okay. So we get in my van. Before we get in the van, Pootie comes over to me and goes, all right, here's the thing. Don't buy him any tequila. I'm like, okay, this is like, it was almost like, that setup in Gremlins when they're like, yeah, don't feed them before midnight kind of thing. Or after midnight, and don't get them wet. It was like that. He was like very serious.
I had an ex like
don't
that.
do this. And I was like, okay. So we get in the car and we're driving. We go to the Western shop, and that in itself was weird to me because, I mean, this guy is he's a legendary guitar player for a legendary performer. And he, he's been with Willie that long. He's like 30 or 40 years or something stupid. And the person at the desk at the Lamley's Western Wear, no idea who he is. And I'm just like kind of like enjoying this moment because here I am helping him pick out a shirt. He goes, Jeff, what do you think? Do you think this shirt looks good? It was like one of those kind of situations where he's now asking me what I think. What shirt should I get? So it was this weird kind of like going shopping with a country music icon. So
but one that not very many people would recognize.
Exactly. Like he's not recognizable to the normal person or the person that maybe is not a diehard fan. So it was kind of neat.
That's kind of like Alice Cooper's original like rhythm guitarist out in public.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or my buddy Whitey who played with Iggy Pop. Like we can walk down the street, nobody knows who he is. They just think he's like some scraggly rocker dude, but the people that know are like they lose their freaking mind. It's hilarious.
Right.
So We get back in the van. We have the shirt. We're on our way back. Jody goes, Jeff, we stop at a liquor store. And I was like, kind of sat for a minute, and I go, Pootie told me not to take you to a liquor store, but you're a man of your own will, and you're a man of your own volition, right? You're going to do what you're going to do. You know what you can do and what you can't do and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So I said, I tell you what, I'm going to park on the corner here, and there's probably a liquor store in that strip mall. I'm going to check my phone, and you're going to do what you're going to do. I don't know where you went. And he was like, perfect. Goes out, gets his bottle, comes back in, then goes to me. He goes, I need a favor. I'm like, what's the favor? And he's like, I need you to put this on the bus. I was like, you're making me accomplice now. This is not an ideal situation there, Jody. I mean, I already turned a blind eye and let you make your own decisions and shit, and now you're gonna do this. He's like, yeah, I know, but can you help me out? I'll give you the bus code. And I'm like, okay, put it in a brown plastic bag so I don't know what the hell I'm putting on the bus. So he puts it in a bag or whatever. We go back and we get back to the door, and at the back door is Pootie. He's standing there, like crossed arms, just like baby boy. And as we walk up to the back door, the two of us, Jody goes in, and then he looks at Pootie, gives him one of those pats on the shoulder kind of thing. He goes, good guy. And then Pootie's like big smile on his face, and I'm like, what's the deal here? So suddenly Pootie goes, so did you go to a liquor store? And I'm like, I didn't go to a liquor store. I didn't take him to a liquor store. No, I didn't take him to a liquor store. He looks
You technically didn't.
He looks at me. He goes, you passed. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? he goes later in the day, and he goes, I go, so what do you mean by passed? Like, what was that all about? And he goes, we test our people. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, we do. He goes, Jody and I have this game that we play. We've been playing for years on people, and we test them to see what their moral fiber is. And it kind of helps us figure out who we should be, who we can trust. I was like, what? This is messed up. This is so weird. And he's like, so you passed. I'm like, so why did I pass? And he goes, because you didn't take him to a liquor store, but you didn't tell him he couldn't go to a liquor store. And that is the most badass thing you could do in that situation. And I'm like, and I was just like, holy shit. Like that's so, I get it now. I get it. And so, yeah, Pootie Locke, legend. He was a legend. He passed away a couple years ago. And when he passed away, I got an invite to go to stay with the family in Waco. And I don't do funerals as a whole. So I didn't go to hang out for that. And part of me regrets it, and part of me doesn't regret it, because I have all the memories of being the one that passed with Pootie Locke. He used to also text me randomly whenever he was close to Canada. I get these random texts. Baby boy, you coming to the show tonight? And I'm like, where are you playing at? Oh, we're in Prince Edward Island, which is like, if you're familiar with Canada, I'm in Alberta, which is like second province on the west. PEI is the absolute furthest on the east. It's like it's an island, literally, Prince Edward Island. It's the beginning of Canada, literally. That would be the first thing you would see if you were coming from the east over from England or whatever. You would see that part of Canada first. And I'm like, holy shit, like, do you realize how far away that is? And he was like, oh, no, I didn't even think to look. I'm like, oh, well, take a look and then call me back. He sends me a text later. He goes, Oh yeah, it's kind of far.
That's awesome. I'd like
But
to
he used to get all these questions like that from him. He was great, man.
I'd like to thank everyone in the chat. We've got Kathy Grant. Speaking of Kathy, go check out Reignite. I brought up that logo earlier.
Kathy.
We also have Lily McCartney, the Rock and Roll podcast. Of course, Naomi, Jackie. We also have Victor Chalfant. Are you familiar with Vic Chalfant?
Maybe.
That
name sounds familiar.
He's the producer for Ryan Roxy's In the Trenches podcast.
Okay, that's why. Yeah. Totally.
He's also does a lot of photography work for Ryan and everyone in the Alice Cooper camp whenever like they're in town. Like not Alice, but like he'll do photos for the individual bandmates and shit.
Yeah. You know what? I probably met him. Shout out to him because I probably have met him on one or more of the dates whenever he's come through Calgary. Yeah, because I have worked a lot for Alice.
Well, he doesn't tour with Alice. He just does like shows near him.
Cool.
Like whenever they come near him, he'll like do like photo shoots with certain band members sometimes, like Bisto Blanco and shit.
Oh, Bisto Blanco.
Yeah. He actually followed them on tour, Bisto Blanco, but he's never done anything with Alice like that.
Yeah, I was trying to remember who they were through. They were through here one time, then I ended up working for them, so it was almost like a reunion of the Alice camp to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd never heard Bisto Blanco until I worked for him, and then the name totally made sense. Do you know why the name's the name it is, right?
Every time
sounds like White Zombie, Bisto Blanco.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that band is like a carbon copy of basically picking up where
White Zombie left off.
White Zombie left off. Yeah.
Oh wow. I didn't know that until now.
No, I didn't know that because Chuck Garrick, every time he does an interview mentioning Bisto, he's like, well, everybody has a Bisto Blanco in them, meaning everybody has a beast inside of them. But like the sound, they've always sounded very White Zombie-ish to me. And then when Calico sings, it sounds kind of like a Hailstorm a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
was it Hailstorm that they were on tour? They might have been on tour with Hailstorm on that one. Was that a Hailstorm tour?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I've done a lot of shows with Hailstorm too.
Because I don't know if Bisto toured with Hailstorm. I know Alice did.
Yeah. One of my really good friends, one of my favorite production friends, is from that camp. That's Detroit. She's the PA for Hailstorm. She's like by far one of my favorite people to work with. Yeah.
But if you get a chance, speaking of Vic and Hailstorm and all this, Vic actually has his own website. I believe it's Victor Chalfant Photography. I could be wrong. You can just Google it and it'll give you the website. Check it out. He's done photographs for like lots of musicians. He's done them for actors. He's even did photo work for Donald Trump.
You have to use a special filter for that one.
He didn't grab him by no pussy or nothing. He didn't.
Awful. I can't believe the vile shit that came out of that guy's face, and he was still like okay to be president. But anyways, I don't want to get into the political side of things because if I do that, I'll get hate mail for months.
No, Kath, you did not miss the Joan Jett stories. We are actually talking in between stories because if we was to just talk the stories, you guys would be like, okay, this is a typical show and turn off.
This is true. Yeah. If you want to get into the Joan Jett stuff, sure. I mean, I only have one Joan Jett story, but it's a gooder. It's a gooder. So Joan Jett was on tour with Aerosmith, and I was
nice
told that I was assigned to the Aerosmith camp, and I've been a Joan Jett fan since I was in grade 5. So I was as we were talking like about the heaven and hell story last time. Where it was like one of those moments where I was like, holy shit, like you get choked up and you're kind of a little bit thrown off my game. Cause like literally I don't care about the fandom shit when it comes down to it. But this situation was different, just like it was with heaven Heaven and Hell and with meeting Dave Grohl for the first time, it was a little bit of a choker upper where you're just like, holy shit, like this is a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working for Aerosmith, and the day's not going great. I'm not really digging who I'm working with, like as far as the production assistant at the time. And so I asked my other person that was working as well. She was with Joan Jett. I said, can we switch? And you work for Aerosmith and I'll work for Joan Jett. And this was like halfway through the day. And she was like, yeah, totally. So we switched. And then I went and started working for Joan Jett. And that was the catalyst to make it from a day that was kind of mundane and kind of didn't really give a crap to one of the best days I've ever had working this job. Mm-hmm. So she's up on stage and she's playing. And I like to watch some of the shows sometimes. In particular, I wanted to watch all of this show, being a fan since I was in grade 5.
What year was this show, if you don't mind me asking?
Shit, I'm trying to remember. I'm guessing it would have been about 2007, 2006, somewhere in there.
Was AC Slade in the band at the time?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure because the only person I dealt with was just Joan. That's
okay.
It.
I didn't know if you worked with
Joan
the whole band or just her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole band would have been kicking around, but I didn't talk to anybody. Like, and that's sometimes how it goes in those situations where they have like a singer in a band who is what they call the primary. Mm-hmm. And then her band is her band. And a lot of them are in situations where they're hired guns. So they're not original members or whatever. Mm-hmm. So basically, when you're assigned primarily to the primary. So that's how that usually goes. So I'm watching the show, and I'm kind of over on the side near one of the boards in the Saddle Dome, and I'm watching, and I see Steven Tyler kind of sneak around up front, and then he sits in a row, 2 rows back in an empty seat, and he's leaning on the chair like this, watching her show. And like people are standing all around and whatnot, and mm-hmm. and nobody really, is paying any mind to him because they can't really see him unless he turns around, right? Because it's kind of like focuses on the stage. Mm-hmm. So he's watching, and Joan can see him sitting there, and she's playing. And she's just kind of having a good chuckle at it. Doesn't want to say anything because then it'll cause a bit of a melee out front. And then all of a sudden, the people that own the seats, that had bought the seats that he's doing this in, show up, and they kind of like, they look pissed. They're like, what the fuck is this person doing in our seat? And he comes over, taps him on the shoulder, and he turns around and he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not in your seat. And then the people are like, holy shit, what the hell? What the hell? It was the most random thing ever. And of course, he kind of like, and then everybody around them realizes what the hell's going on, and then
abort mission.
Yeah, literally, he gets runs to the back, and avoids any kind of more chaos. Didn't want to interrupt her show either, right? So it just turned into a bit of a melee up front, and so she gets off the stage, and she goes to me. I was told by the promoter, whatever she wants to do, just take her, keep her seats, all this shit, standard issue. And I'm like, cool. So Miss Jett, what would you like to do now? She's like, well, I really want to go for ice cream. And I was like, you want to go for ice cream? And in my head, I'm like, ice cream parlor. I'm like, better than Baskin Robbins. I've got like 5 in mind. I'm like, I'm already rolling how this is going. And I go to her, I've been waiting to go on a date with you since grade 5 to go for ice cream. And she was like, since grade 5. And I'm like, yeah. I'm in, at the time I was in my late 30s, mid 30s. And she was like, that's a long time, Geoff. I guess this is your lucky day. And I was just like, I'm like, hell yeah, it is. So I'm like, what kind of ice cream do you like? Do you like Rocky Road, or do you like Do you like
She
soft serve?
loves Rocky Road.
And I was like, do you like, yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to try to guess what flavor. Tiger. No, not Tiger. The con with the bubble gum in it. No. She goes, oh, I don't know what I feel like. I don't know what I feel like. And then she goes, you know what? I just want a Haagen-Dazs bar. And I go to her, that's not fucking ice cream. This is not a date anymore. This is no longer a date. This is no longer a date. This is wrecking how I pictured how this day would go. And she was like, I'm sorry, Geoff. And then she gave me the limited edition, whatever, greatest hits record, and that was that. She asked me if I wanted her to sign it, and in the back of my head, I was like, yes, I want you to sign it, but at the same time, we're not allowed to ask for autographs in this job. So I was like, you know what? I already know who gave it to me. That's enough for me. Mm-hmm. So she's like, very cool. Very well played, she said. And I'm like, so I have a CD from her.
Did you end up going on the ice cream date, or were you still upset?
Yeah, all we did. Well, we ended up going to 7-Eleven and getting Haagen-Dazs bars. The whole time I was just like, it's like, this is bullshit.
that's like having like this crush for all these years.
Yeah.
And she's like, I want a cheeseburger. And you're like, where do you want to go? I want a McDouble from McDonald's. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. So true. And you know what? I think the date I said I think is wrong. I think it's after 2010. I think it would have been probably 2011, maybe.
Then yeah, AC was playing
2011. Yeah, more than likely. I don't know.
The reason why I'm bringing that up is
because
the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I am drinking Catfight coffee. Go check it out. AC Slade's coffee company.
I need some Catfight coffee. I don't have Catfight coffee. This is not Catfight coffee.
You should get some. He has an Alice Cooper blend right now. Limited time.
Does he have it in Canada? Does he need a distribution in Canada? Maybe I can help him there.
Hit him up, but I think he ships everywhere.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just the price is probably going to be a bit much because he's from New Jersey.
Double. It'll be
he lives in New Jersey.
I pay a lot for his coffee. Especially for like express shipping, dude. It's too
you know they say liquid gold. He pays about that much.
Yikes.
Wow, I'm dark.
But it's a really good coffee. You should check it out. I really like the walnut blend, but he also has that Alice Cooper blend that's really good. It's only limited time though.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
Get it while you can.
That's very cool.
Yeah, he played for Joan Jett, and I figured I was just saying if you met him on that tour.
You know, I meet a lot of the guys that play in the bands, and sometimes I end up knowing who they are, and sometimes I don't. I'm not sure if I met him that day. Possibly did.
Like Vic said in the chat, it's a bit expensive, but it's really good coffee. It's high quality coffee. He makes it himself.
There you go. There's Victor. Hey, look at that emoji. Hey, look at that.
I think he might have drawn that. He's a very talented guy. Everybody in the chat loves your stories, so good thing we're going to bring you back next month.
There you go. I'll have to think of which ones are. I have to do a filter when I'm doing these chats because there's a lot of things that I've seen that I'm not actually allowed to talk about.
That's fine
because a lot of it is way over the top, and sometimes it's not way over the top at all. But I feel like it could be a discretion situation.
I think you're going to get a phone call from Willie Nelson tomorrow. You actually gave him alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a call from Willie. I mean,
that's the only time it's like not like you don't get weird looks if you say I love Willie. If you're talking about Willie Nelson.
Yeah,
I love Willie.
Yeah, no, Willie Nelson, like I said, and it's come up multiple times with multiple times that I do my chats. Mm-hmm. I've got a couple of pairs of sticks from Paul English and Billy English, the brothers that play for Willie.
Nice.
Paul English passed away. I'm thinking it was a year and a half, 2 years ago. And when he did, that hit me pretty hard because I developed playing a drum technique, a theory called the single drum theory, and I do clinic tours doing it. And it's a brush based, just snare drum playing in a band where you would play like roots country, country music in general, or just folk music. And I developed it after working for Willie Nelson and seeing these two guys hold down the entire night with just a snare drum. They would use snare drum and shakers, and they would trade off between the brothers. One would do shakers, and then one would snare, and then would do switch it up. And they would use sticks or brushes or whatever. And I was like, holy shit, this is totally doable. And it works, and it's simple. And so I developed that with that in mind. And when he passed away, I did like this crazy like video montage thing on Instagram and expressed, everything that I felt about his playing and how it changed my life and my perspective on, and gave me an opportunity to develop something that now I tour Canada doing, and hopefully future dates will be in the States for 3 different companies. So it was a big deal when he passed away, and his son reached out to me on there. And I never met his son. I didn't know his son. He reached out to me and he goes, "Thank you so much for honoring my father." And I was just like, I couldn't stop crying. It was like a wave of like, holy shit. Coincidentally, his name also is Paul English. So if he's watching, hey, Paul.
Hi, Paul. With you talking about Willie's lineup, that guy had pretty consistent lineup for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is impressive. It's impressive for a solo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rare. It's rare. I mean, a lot of the old guys, I end up getting hired to work for the old country guys. That seems to be like my thing. I don't know why, but I did several dates for Don Williams, who was another big country guy that was like, Lord, I Hope This Day Is Good was one of his big hits. Tulsa Time, Living on Tulsa Time. So like these were all songs that were on the radio when I was a kid. And then I end up, meeting these guys and working for them. And it's always a trip to me in that situation. Another one that I worked for that's part of that old country scene and has since passed. All these guys, with the exception of Willie, have passed. Don passed a couple of years ago. George Jones, I worked for George Jones on his last Canadian tour, and the same thing where he's got 1 or 2 guys that are like his mainstays that have been with him forever, and then the rest are kind of new people or whatever happens to fall into place. But really, I love the old guys in the country side of things. They have so much soul, they have so much experience, they're bringing so much to the table that a lot of people are forgetting about.
Well, it's getting to that point musically where like a lot of the bands that some would have considered country in like the 60s and 70s is now just considered folk, because it's not really country anymore. It's not like as twangy. It's just back then they just would play on their acoustic about their problems. It wasn't really country back then. Even
it was
more
just
folk.
Music.
It's more folk.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Van Zandt stuff, early Townes Van Zandt stuff is the same way.
I worked with Little Jimmy Dickens and David Allan Coe back in the day.
Oh wow, nice.
I'm not a big David Allan Coe fan because most of his music that he released that was very like racial and shit, I wasn't a big fan of that era, but he has written some decent songs other than that. But speaking of bands with original lineups, Weird Al Yankovic has the same band he's had since 1982.
Oh, wow.
I can see that.
The same fucking band.
Yeah.
But we have the Stereotypes in the chat, and I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
The Stereotypes. That sounds familiar.
Kathy Grant's husband's band.
Okay.
They had a EP that was released many years ago. Like it was few songs. It was when they were like 16, 17 years old. They released this,
nice.
and then they broke up.
Right.
Well, they get a phone call like 30 some years later. It's the rarest punk EP ever, and it goes for like $2,000 right now because there's only a select few copies. And they said, "Fuck it, why don't we just get back together?" So the record studio got them all back together, and they released their debut album almost 40 years later, after their debut single, which means Guinness Book World Records time. It's the longest amount of time between single and record ever.
Wow, that's incredible.
Now they're dubbed the world's laziest band because it took them 40 years to release their debut album.
I can see how that would happen for sure.
But
yeah, I've heard that name before. I'm sure something, that name sounds really familiar. I'm sure I've seen the record or something.
Yeah, they're he's the world's laziest singer. 40 years for an album. But they're actually awesome. He didn't realize it, but they were a very sought after punk band because of how rare that record was. The only records that was rarer than that, I think, was like of course, Sex Pistols, the first pressing of their debut album, Nevermind the Buzzcocks, was a very sought-after album.
Yeah, for sure.
And, of course, the Ramones has a lot of rare albums. Mm-hmm. But isn't it crazy that the Sex Pistols have one album and they're this iconic?
Yeah. But I mean, there was a lot of things behind that too, right? Like that was a created band apparently. So
yeah, the singer John Lyden, the way they found him, he was at a karaoke bar and he was singing, and they said his singing was so awful that he had to be in their band.
You're hired.
And he was wearing a shirt it was a Pink Floyd shirt, but he wrote in Sharpie on it, "Sucks," underneath of it. And he ended up meeting the members of Pink Floyd wearing that shirt.
I got a story for you. You know the band Wasp?
Oh, I fucking love Wasp.
Okay. I got a quick story. We're over an hour now, but we're gonna do this quick story and then we're gonna call it because I got to save stuff for the future. So this one, Wasp. Okay.
Actually, do you want to save this for next time?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's what we'll do. Next time, we're going to talk about Wasp.
Yeah, we can talk about Wasp, and who else have you worked with that you can tell stories about?
We can talk about Wasp, and that'll tie into Motley Crue.
Okay, we can do Wasp and Motley Crue. Do you want to...
Next time, Wasp and Motley Crue.
Do you want to also figure out a date? Because we do have an opening for you on the 23rd of August.
I'll have to take a look at. We'll figure this out after.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out after.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. Like this is always so fun.
No problem. You have your own show now on Pink Sock.
We're your co-host.
How the hell does this happen, eh? How the hell does this happen?
We've become your co-host. Anything can happen. Anything can happen on this show.
Absolutely.
Stereotypes. This is actually a new series on Pink Sock, TowerStories. Jeff Towers will be back several times until he can't come on anymore because he's a busy guy.
Yeah.
He's
you putting up. Find this on Netflix.
Yeah, you'll find us on Netflix.
We're not that popular yet.
I hear it's really easy to get something on Netflix, so maybe, but then I'll definitely get in trouble. I would be fired so quick. Yeah.
So we do have guests coming up. I'd just like to give a couple shout outs before we call this quits. And you, of course, have your own sponsors that we would like to get to. We have on the 9th of August, Love the Hate. They are a very talented band. I listened to a few of their songs recently. They were sent to me by Tag Publicity, which is a great publicity company. If you're ever looking for a publicity company to promote your work, Tag Publicity is the company to do that because they reach everywhere. Bring that picture back on. Look at that red beard. Right? Wow. That's like some fucking Dimebag Daryl shit there.
Serious, man. That's dedication. I'm
gonna say Chad Gray.
Yeah, totally.
I love talking to you, Jeff, because your taste of music is crazy.
I'm all over the map, man. All over.
We could say Chad Gray, and you're like, I love Mudvayne, and then we could be like talking about some old Western bands, and you're like, oh, I love them too. And then we talk about like polka. You're like, oh, I love Frankie Yankovic.
Yep. You gotta love Weird Al, man.
Did you know Did you know Frankie and Weird Al are not related, even though their last names are Yankovic?
Really? Not related.
Weird Al was a big fan of Frankie Yankovic, and he's like, we're not related. And Frankie Yankovic's a huge polka legend.
But does Frankie like Weird Al?
I don't know.
That might be the bigger question. The bigger question. I've never worked for Weird Al. He's been through a couple times, and one of the people that I do work with, like one of my partners that does the same job, she's told me some funny stuff about that situation. She said he's super nice, super friendly, and talkative, and everybody calls him Al. They don't call him Weird Al. The fans call him Weird Al, but anybody who's talking to him within his camp, they drop the weird right away. It's just like Al, which is cool.
I'm glad they don't call him Alfred.
Weird Al.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? You sound like Batman. Hey, Alfred.
Exactly.
But we're going to be talking next week about, you said Motley Crue and Wasp.
Motley Crue and Wasp. We'll dive into that wormhole of insanity.
Can we just say 80s bands and just have an 80s episode?
I think that is my 80s bands list. I haven't worked for many 80s bands. I played with some 80s bands. We played with LA Guns.
Everybody has.
I know. We played with LA Guns. We played
if you're a musician and you go to Los Angeles, you've played in LA Guns automatically.
Played in LA Guns. Yeah, no, I mean like we opened for them here. And
you're a member of LA Guns, don't worry. If you open for them.
No.
You're a member.
I think if you see Ryan Roxy 3 times fast, you're a member of LA Guns.
Hey, Kathy, you do have the 80s show, but we can have an 80s episode. Come on now. Don't be.
Sweet.
But yeah, if you've lived in LA, if you've been to LA, if you've even opened for LA Guns, Tracy Guns has you listed as a former member of LA Guns.
You'll make it on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
We played with Jackal too. Remember Jackal?
Oh yeah, I love Jackal.
The chainsaw.
They have a shirt I want to get. It says rock me, roll me, jackal me off.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's at their merch booth.
It's awful. Awful.
Isn't Jesse the only original member of that group?
Oh, I don't know. So
next week, next month, do you want to talk about Jackal too, or did you?
No, because it was just we were opening. There was nothing happened on that gig. We basically went from green room to playing the show to leaving because it was there wasn't any interaction with those guys. That's usually how that goes in opening slots. Everybody's pretty segregated. Mm-hmm. Most of my stories end up coming from, with the exception of the Wasp story. I can't wait to tell you guys that. You guys lose your mind. That one was a crossover where it was brought up while I was working. That's all I'll say.
I have an idea for that episode. I need to make a flyer for it. I'm going to edit your face onto Blackie Lawless's body.
You know what? Yes, do that. fully. I'll try to dig up pictures from that show for you. There is a picture from that show. We had a photographer out, and I was playing in a band that was kind of like
let's get to it.
Hardcore band. So we're not going to talk about it today. All I'll say is I'll send you the picture. It is hilarious.
When you send pictures, though, keep in mind you can send me whatever pictures you want to be shown because I can pop them up on the screen while you're talking.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Also, Reignite with Kathy Grant. She has Uncle Fester on the show. Marco. I hope the guy doesn't care that I make that joke because
I would ask first. I would ask.
Before you go,
Back to the Future.
yeah,
Your favorite cookie or biscuit?
yeah.
What's my favorite cookie or biscuit?
Yes,
You know,
Kath is big into Jaffa cake.
Okay, here we go. Peak Freen, you know Peak Freen cookies? They make this one cookie called a shortbread cookie, and I'm absolutely addicted to it. It's like just a square shortbread cookie. I love shortbread. That's why I'm so portly. Shortbread. It's not so short. I eat too many of them. That's my cookie of choice. I don't like chocolate chip cookies because I find the chocolate chips are not good.
Do you like oatmeal raisin?
Oatmeal raisin's good. Yeah.
I know so many people that hate oatmeal raisin, so I fuck with them and tell them, here's a chocolate chip cookie, and it's an oatmeal raisin cookie.
You gotta fight, man. You get stabbed one day over that shit.
Do you like Jaffa cakes? Because Kat's big into Jaffa cakes. I think she's sponsored by them. I'm not
Jaffa
sure.
cakes. I don't know Jaffa cakes.
It is I think it's just a UK thing. Do you guys have them where you're at, Greg?
I think so.
Because I found a couple Jaffa cake types in like a grocery store randomly one day out here, but it's not popular to have them. Jaffa cakes is like a thin like cake, and it has like chocolate on top and has like cream in the middle, but sometimes the cream's flavored. Yeah, Jaffa cakes are pretty good. Kath sent me some.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
They're really fucking good. But where's your sponsors? What's your sponsors? Tell us.
My drum sponsors, we'll talk about my drum sponsors. So I play for Mapex Drums, Remo drum heads, Vader drumsticks, and Electro Voice microphones. That's my roundabout sponsors. Also do stuff for TNA products, which is they're called little booty shakers. It's like a resonance restoration piece. Yeah.
Is that like a website? You can find videos.
TNA. Yeah, all of that stuff is all featured on my website, or on my my YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram, and that's where everything is.
TNA booty shaker sounds like something that'd be on your OnlyFans account.
I know it sounds way worse than it was. TNA product booty shakers, OnlyFans. Yeah, I should see that. I should tell them that. Maybe. That's all right. I worked for a production company once. It was called TNA, and I was like, "This is weird. Why are you guys calling yourselves TNA?" It's the next adventure. And I was like, "Oh, okay, the next adventure." Okay.
You know, it's fucking hilarious. There was a wrestling company named TNA for the longest time, and they ended up changing their name because they kept getting flack for it.
Well, yeah.
You remember that? Their name was Total Nonstop Action. They tried competing with WWE and failed.
Right. That was after WWF, the real deal, the old school. Yeah.
Well, there's a company right now pretty much giving them a run for their money, AEW.
Oh, okay.
They're owned by somebody who's worth double what Vince McMahon's worth.
Wow.
Tony Khan, the owner of the Jaguars.
Tony Khan, what a name.
He sounds like a
I could never trust a guy named Tony Khan. I'm sorry.
Look at Dylan.
It sounds like he works for the mob. Tony Khan.
He sounds like this. Here's my. I don't know why you're coming here on the day of my daughter's wedding, Tony Khan. I don't know.
Yeah. Why do I feel like you work for waste management there, Tony Khan?
But that was Geoff Towers. Make sure you follow and subscribe this channel, and go follow and subscribe to all of Geoff Towers' stuff. Most of your things is Geoff Towers, what, YCC?
YYC, which is the airport code for Calgary.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I didn't know that. I just thought it stood for something, like your band or something. Like
no, YYC, Calgary. It's an airport code.
I thought it was yellow yoke chapters or something.
No.
But that was Geoff Towers. You have amazing stories. I cannot wait to hear about this wasp story.
That's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Can we at least get a little hint of what era of wasp we're talking about?
Oh, this is like would have been 2004.
Okay, so that'll help.
That'll give you an idea. 2004 ish. Yeah, I think it was 2004.
All right.
That's all I'll say.
That was Geoff Towers.
Till next time.
Till next time. That was Tower Stories with Geoff Towers. If you're not available on the date that I gave you, we can probably just pre-record it if you want to.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, that was Geoff Towers. Go follow him on all social media. Thank you so much, Geoff, for
Thanks
everything.
for having me, man. This is
no
great.
problem. It was an
I
honor
don't
to
get
meet.
to talk about this stuff very often, so
well, now you get
nice
your
to
whole
have
fucking
the
show.
outlet.
You get your whole show. It was nice talking to you, buddy. I'll see you soon. I'll talk to you very soon. Remember, everybody, live long, rock hard. And this was the first edition.
Be safe.
Be safe when you're rocking hard.